So here we have yet again another incident where a black child is being put in danger by a PC individual who's allowing their own so-called fears get the best of them. So in this picture, you see two people. The one standing at the podium wearing it looks like a Nike hoodie. Her name is Monique Joseph, and she's standing next to her daughter, who is 9 years old, and her name is Bobby Wilson. And recently, Bobby was outside catching something called lantern flies. And, she was basically just acting like a child and doing what a child does. But this individual whose picture I'm going to put up here probably towards the end, towards the end of me reading this article, had other issues. So he called the cops, and his name is Gordon Lawshe, and he used to be a council member for this particular county. Called the cops on her. I guess because in his mind, and he formulated that she was doing something that was suspicious and warranted of calling the police. I'm going to go ahead and read the article, and then I'm going to pull his picture up so you can see what he looks like. And there's also some other stuff that was out about this man years ago prior to him, also probably leading into why he's no longer in the position he's in. A former city council member of a New Jersey town and local Republican Party leader allegedly called the police on a 9-year-old black girl when he saw her catching spotted lantern flies, an invasive species killing trees in the area, while wearing a hoodie, the girl's mother, Monique Joseph, said at a local board meeting last week. Now, I've seen wearing a hoodie. What does that remind you of? Trayvon Martin. Because when I first saw this story, I said, oh, this is the Trayvon Martin effect all over again. According to Joseph, Gordon Lawshe, the former council member for Caldwell, New Jersey, who's also her neighbor, told police there's a little black woman spraying stuff on the sidewalk and trees. I don't know what the hell she's doing. It scares me, though. This man accused this little girl. You see her? This is the 9-year-old right here. This is her mother. She accused this little 9-year-old girl of being a woman. Now we not only have the Trayvon Martin effect with the hoodie thing, but now we also have the Tamir Rice effect with the age. Because remember, with Tamir Rice, he was 12 years old when he was murdered, but they claimed he was 18. I don't know where you could get the idea that this little girl was a grown woman. Hell, I'm looking at her mother, and I thought her mother was a teenager because she looks relatively young. So how he said that this little girl was a woman is beyond me, but it goes back to where PC as a society, when it comes to situations such as these, tend to age black children older than what they are to try to make a claim. And he went on to say, because I'm going to read that little quote again. He says, spraying stuff on the sidewalk and trees. I don't know what the hell she's doing. It scares me, though. He says, I don't know what she's doing, but it scares me, though. You have basically not minding his damn business. She wasn't doing anything that was harmful. He was the only one that felt she was doing something and said, you know what, I'm going to just pick up the phone and call the police. Again, going back to the Tamir Rice effect of PC calling the police on black people. They not minding their business. Same thing happened with John Crawford. This PC man called the police on him, even though he was in a store not playing with an actual gun. He was just looking at a toy. He was just looking at the guns that was already in the store, and they came and shot him because of accusations that he was about to commit, I'm guessing, a shootout or some kind of a mass shooting. And in the midst of all of that, another woman in the store became a casualty because I believe she had a heart attack from the fear, and she died. So that was 2 deaths at the hands of this individual that called the police. The allegation speaks to the widespread crisis of young black girls being adultified, placing them at greater risk of police violence, sexual violence, and harsher disciplinary action in schools that feeds the school to prison pipelines. That can actually be relegated for black boys as well. I just had to throw that in there. Joseph continued, and he included that she's wearing a hoodie. My 9-year-old daughter, Bobby Wilson, had a hoodie on her person, but did not have this hoodie on her head. It is sickening and scary to hear that my neighbor used triggering words that have resulted in the death of too many black and brown children and adults at the hands of the police. Black hoodie, I'm scared. Those are triggered words. A lawyer for Lawshe confirmed to the Daily Beast that Lawshe, who served as chair of the Caldwell Republican Party until 2021, had made a call to the police but declined to comment further. Joseph said regardless of Lawshe's intentions, the incident was still racism and this was not a mistake. I'm here to talk about Mr. Lawshe's intentionality, Joseph continued. My neighbor's words put my daughter in harm's way. His words and actions were unconscionable, and the impact of the aftermath of this incident will not be kept secret. My 9-year-old daughter was afraid to go outside her front door the next day. Bobby Wilson's older sister, Hayden, also testified, specifying that her younger sister had researched safe methods to eliminate lantern flies that she was testing in her front yard when Lawshe called the police. An October issue of Progress. You know what? I wonder if this is the sister, because I was looking at her with the hoodie on. I said she looks too young to be her mother. So I wonder if this is the sister, now that they're mentioning that the sister got up there and testified. So this might be the sister, because I'm like, the mother would have to be slightly older, because this one right here in the hoodie looks really, really young. So if this is the sister and not the mother, I retract that first part that I said that was the mother at the podium. But yeah, let me continue. An October issue of the Progress quite literally spotlights Bobby's work to combat the environmentally hazardous invasive species in the community. She was not only doing something amazing for our environment, she was doing something that made her feel like a hero, Hayden said. Our neighbor across the street decided it would be appropriate to call the police on my sister. According to Hayden, they're the only black family on the street. Well, that explains a lot right there. And her 9-year-old sister feared for her life because of Lawshe's actions. Bobby sees all these other black children and adults on the news being killed by police officers for doing nothing wrong, Hayden said. So when this car rolled up beside her, she was immediately frightened because she did nothing wrong. No kid should be scared to be in their own town on their own street. Thankfully, the incident didn't end in tragedy. Joseph testified that the police responded well to the situation, though she didn't offer details, and said she chose to speak before the council to start a conversation about how the town can ensure that going forward, little black children in this town can feel safe in this community. The mayor, John Kelly, thanked Joseph for sharing her and her daughter's experience and apologized for the incident. As Joseph and her older daughter pointed out, the situation could have cost a young black girl her life, all for trying to do something environmentally conscious and good for her community. That Lawshe once held a leadership position in the town speaks to how dangerous it can be for black people to simply live in their own neighborhoods. And the fact that he's their neighbor, he lives across the street, that's scary enough. And why the hell wasn't he brought to task? Why wasn't he present at this meeting? This wouldn't have been a factor or an issue if he didn't call the police on this child, claiming that it was a woman, and saying the embellishing things that he said. Of course, there's a long, terrifying history of neighbors calling 911 on black girls for reasons like selling water bottles. In 2015, police assaulted a young black girl outside a public pool in Texas. I remember that one. After someone called 911 on her pool party. Bobby Wilson fears when police showed up at her door weren't unfounded, and no apology from the city can undo the trauma that can be inflicted with the child. So, yeah, that's whole situation right there. I'm glad that it didn't end in the way in the other scenarios that I gave as examples, with Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin, and John Crawford, because as you all know, all three of them lost their lives prematurely to some nonsense. Now, what I'm going to do is pull up the picture of this piece of shit, Gordon Lawshe. There he is right there. That is Gordon Lawshe in the flesh. That is the one that made the call to the police on Bobby Wilson, telling them that she was doing something, I guess, unlawfully, and she was a grown woman, and I don't know what it is, and all types of stuff like that. That is him doing it right there. But what I wanted to also pull up is this right here. Now, this is dating back to 2010. I just wanted to pull this up because it shows that this guy clearly has a history. It says 3 officers' complaints against Lawshe revealed. Caldwell governing body not informed of letters of police from police attorney until this week. So pretty much it's saying that this guy has a history of doing some shady things. And this is back in 2010. Look at the date. August 5th, 2010. This was over 12 years ago when this guy did this. And when I was reading through some of the article, this is stemming from why he's now why he has the title of former councilman. It pretty much stemmed from this situation right here. Maybe something before then, because the article mentioned him being former in the article too for this. So this guy does not have a good rapport whatsoever. I also wanted to mention that back on my original channel, the Taurean Rain channel, I had talked about how there was this app that was created and how it was basically to alert the police or suspicious activity, or what you deem to be suspicious activity, at a faster rate than you just calling 911. It's like you just put in the app, send it off, and then I guess you put in your location and they'll send the police to your location or wherever the suspicious activity is. And that app had just rolled out maybe like for a good month or so. And of course, PC were the main ones that gravitated towards that app the most and the fastest. Do you know that they end up having to basically shut down that app after it was in operation for like a good month or so? Because PC, both the men and the women, abused the hell out of that app. They basically were sending in alerts for some of the most minuscule, unnecessary, quote unquote, crimes. To the point where it became a news story, and they said, we gonna have to shut this app down because some of the stuff that they're calling us for, we don't need to come out there, and it's not even a major emergency. They're just putting stuff out there and they're just abusing the app. And you'll tend to find that PC will do that a lot when it comes to these type of apps. But like I said, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because if they had an app like that, I can tell this guy would be one of the ones abusing it. I think I was looking through the comment section of this article that I was reading, and they were saying something called a Nextdoor app. Now, basically, from what I gathered, what the Nextdoor app is basically an app where you can go and buy certain things or certain items from a local place without having to go far to try to search for something. But how it was being used for some people is when they would leave comments, is that they said, oh, I went to go and get something from here or from there, but then someone tried to abduct or kidnap me. Something along those lines. Just making stuff up. It's almost like it's an app that's built for Karen and Kyle, if that makes sense. But yeah, this is the guy that made the call on that little girl, claimed that it was a woman, and could have gotten her hemmed up. Luckily, it did not get that far. But they make a game out of this. A lot of them make a whole game out of this, of calling the police on black people just to see them get hemmed up, if not worse. Because they see what happens on the news. And I bet you he probably got a damn kick out of this. Again, why wasn't he present at the meeting? Why wasn't he present? He should have been one of the main ones there. The main one, honestly, because again, the reason why they're there is because of him. He wouldn't mind his goddamn business. This little girl was doing absolutely nothing but trying to be, a tool for helping to improve the environment. And this guy wanted to interrupt it because of what he assumed. You want to know what's in that word assume? Ass. And that's exactly what Gordon Lawshe did. Made an ass of himself that day. If I was that little girl's mother or parent or whoever, I would sue the hell out of him for emotional distress and anything else he can get him on, because they were more than deserve it. This could have took a whole turn left, a deadly turn at that. And then we would have been hearing about this in the news.